How's everybody doing? Good? What's your energy level? Good? Not so good? Bad? Good? Awesome. Well, I feel very stressed now because everybody's probably thinking about my dressing today. If I have to do a little bit interpretation, I'd say my gray and bluish jacket express my professionalism, and my brown belt tells me that I probably should lose some weight because it feels too tight after lunch. So what I will share today is what I learned about life. Wow, what a big topic. As a life coach. I am a part-time life coach in the US. I'm trained and I work in the US. And my full-time job is at Brinko. I work as a product manager and education specialist in this brain science company. So I'll also bring a little bit brain science perspective. Well, among all these titles and roles of me, what I feel the most excited about is really life coaching. And I got this role from about a year ago, and it's been so fulfilling and empowering for me. But when I first introduced myself as a life coach to my mom, she asked me if I'd become a cult leader. I'm waiting for the translation to work, so you all would love. So I'm not. I work as a life coach, and what it means is I work with people who are seeking for a significant change in their life. And I do that by listening very well and asking the right questions that they need to hear from themselves so that they could access the resource and energy from within to make that change happen. So the normal questions that I would ask in a coaching conversation is usually like this. What do you want for your life? What drives you in your day-to-day? What do you care the most beyond your family's well-being and your kids' education? What do you care the most? And a very wise friend once asked me he said, Cicy, just stop asking the meaning of life because there's no meaning of life. And I told him, yes, exactly. So this is what I believe. I believe the only meaning of life is seeking for the meaning of life. And so I grew up in a very traditional family where my parents would send me to school telling me to study well and respect the teachers. And I've always loved my school education until when I was 18, when the Gaokao pressure became so real, and I found myself and my friends ending up becoming this exam machine. And there's just always repetition and exams. There's never questions about why and how things work. Like we're always running to fill the gaps, to problem solve, to find the things we don't know yet. And I felt so lost in that education. But while I was in the US, my US education taught me to actually look within, to ask why, ask what I want to do. And it tells me I should only do things because I love them, not because the fear of not doing them. So that is the kind of conversation that I do not see a lot happening here. And this is why I wanted to become a life coach, to bring the self-exploration and self-expression to this part of the world, to where I'm from, so that people could actually pursue the full expression of themselves. So I got the training, I got my certificate, and I started coaching. And I talked to 18-year-olds who feared social interaction in their new adult world. I coach young professionals and fresh graduates who find the real world more fierce than their college bubbles. And I've also coached 40-year-old CEOs who had leadership challenges and they couldn't express feelings and emotions to their teams. I've met so many beautiful souls that are alive and want a better self for them. And you know what's the best part? I get paid by doing this. And so this is what I do. I work as a life coach. I encourage people to push for the change they want. I use a lot of techniques and skills, which I will share a little bit today with you. And the first thing I want to talk about is during all my conversations, the biggest enemy that I've been fighting against, the only one thing that I found the hardest for people is the saboteur, which is the inner critics of people. It's your inner voice that tells you not to do stuff, that tells you, no, you can't, you're not able, you're not capable. I'll give you examples. When I coach Sarah, a young professional who are seeking for career changes in her life, she was just so close to coming to this action commitment of sending that application to a company which failed her a few times. And that saboteur voice came up and tells her, but I failed last time. Maybe they just don't like me. I'm just not good enough yet. Maybe I shouldn't give it another try. When Alex, someone I knew for a few years, almost decided to ask the girl out who he's been secretly liking for 3 years, and that saboteur voice came up again. What if she just doesn't like me? I'm just not good enough for her. Maybe let's wait a little bit. When Josh, a college senior who put all his courage together to walk to the dean's office and wanted to ask for a rise in his scholarship amount, and his saboteur voice stopped him right in front of the dean's office, telling him, no, you're going to mess this up. What if this affects your GPA? What if the dean hates you? So all these inner voices that self-sabotaging, that tells you not to do something when you really want to do it, it's actually it's a protection mechanism. You're probably thinking, well, but those are not entirely bad voices because they protect me. They save my life. They save my life when I'm on the edges. And if I want to jump the stage, my saboteur tells me probably not because you're on heels, probably don't move too much. And what I want to tell you is, yes, they are protections, but at the same time, there are also limitations who would keep you exactly where you are. The the bigger your dream is, the louder the saboteur voice becomes because they actually grow up with us. They don't stay little kid when you are not a little kid anymore. When you are 30, 40, they also become 30, 40. And they know you so well. They are your best old friends. You feel completely safe with these saboteur voices, these inner critics, because they are safe. I'll tell you 3 attributes which will help you identify this saboteur voice so that you could educate and change them. A, when you find yourself self-doubting. B, when you find the other voice so safe and easy. C, when it feels like what your mom will tell you to do. And no, moms are great, that's just a joke. So the saboteur voice is what I found the most challenging in most of my coaching conversations. But how do you stop that? How do you change it? This is what I'm going to tell you next. Invite your captain. Your captain is literally the person, the figure who leads your life ship, the leadership of your life. And it can be Captain America, Captain Jake, Captain whatever in Star Trek. Your captain is your inner leader that knows everything about you. Your captain knows all your talents, your gifts, your intelligence, and your captain always believes in everything you want to do. Your captain is the best enemy for your saboteur because the captain always wants you to be your full self whenever the saboteur wants to stop you. And I quite agree with when the first lady who shared her experience in the morning, she said, you can totally visualize some inner voice of you to a TV character, a superhero. This is exactly the same. It can be a person, a superhero. It can be an animal. It can be a stage which is my captain. It can be anything, whatever that keeps you going. And when Sarah, the woman who fears to actually hit that apply button, actually invited her captain out and tells her, yes, you can do this. Yes, failing one time doesn't mean you are a bad candidate. You can totally do this. It's this growth mindset that helps my clients, helps everybody else to actually grow in their challenges. I'll tell you a story of myself. When I first applied to Harvard, I failed. I failed so badly. I applied for 4 schools, and nobody wanted me. And the second year, I applied again, and I only applied one, Harvard. And there was this huge debate between my saboteur and myself. I didn't have the vocabulary captain at that time, so my saboteur was telling me, as you can imagine, come on, apply for something else, some like not so good schools, so you won't end up having nothing. Your friends will laugh at you. They got Columbia, they got NYU, they got everything else. So, go for some of those schools. But then I know what I truly want for myself. I really wanted to go to Harvard. So I asked myself, if I really end up in something else, do I really want to do that? For myself, not for someone else's comments and expectations? No, I don't. So I found at that time, I was my captain. And later, I had the coaching skills to actually help me visualize that. And for me, it was Mulan. It was a Mulan standing on a ship in a river who's always moving. And sometimes she stops at some ports, islands, to make an impact on people, to engage with the community. And then she goes back to the ship and keeps moving. She never stops. She always keeps moving and impact people. That is still my captain. And it's why I love being a life coach. And the good news is, the captain has a good companion. The captain has a good crew member, which is the appreciator. I want to share with you a social experiment I did with about 100 people. So in every coaching conversation I had with my clients, I always tell them to do one simple exercise. I ask them to say 3 things they appreciate about themselves, 3 things that they want to acknowledge. And before doing that, I actually tell them what I observe. I'll tell them, you are brave. Jensen, you are courageous. You are a caring mom. You are an inspirational woman for your country. And when people hear those words, they definitely feel a little more connected to their own heart, their true, authentic self. But here's the more interesting part. When I actually ask them to repeat that to me, I am courageous. I am inspirational. I am a caring mom. I am a great female leader whose work is needed by the country. When they repeat that to themselves and to me as a coach, 100% of them tear up and pause for a while. Because it's uncomfortable. People feel super uncomfortable appreciating themselves. How many times in your 24 hours of your day you say something nice to yourself, you acknowledge yourself with a sentence started by I am this and that? Because we live in a culture that only encourages self-criticizing and problem solving. I'm bad at this, I'm going to fix that. Someone's doing this better than me, I'm going to do that. But we never actually appreciate ourselves. There's nothing wrong with self-critics. There's nothing wrong with being constructive, always improving. There's no problem with that. But the downside of that is you're always doing. You're always running in doing. You never actually pause and enjoy being. Who am I being? What am I being? And this should be taking at least 50% of our life if we're fully, completely ourselves. So the appreciator is a good friend. And I also want to just bring a little bit brain science perspective into this, because in my full-time job, I work with BrainCo. It's a Harvard-incubated startup company. We're based right in Harvard. And I, as the product manager, create technologies and wearables that connects human brain and the machine to do two things. One, we help people to learn about their brains a little bit better, about how people learn and how people perceive feelings, emotions, stress, attention. And we also use our brain to control machine by this BMI technology, brain-machine interface, not body mass index for some of you who go to gyms. So I worked with a lot of brain scientists, and what brain science found is, I used some of the work resources to do this little research, is when you wake up more of your captain voice and shut up more your saboteur voice, next time when you face a challenge, you actually choose to let the captain voice speak and shut up that saboteur voice. Your brain actually, your neurons actually forms new connections that strengthen the belief that you are your captain and you are capable of doing more stuff, which means you can actually train yourself to be more confident, to be more yourself. So brain science showed this. And I totally believe in every single one of you sitting here that if you connect more with your inner leader, with your captain, and just forget wherever that saboteur lives, sometimes you may still need them, but know when you don't need them, you will be a more courageous and resonant person. And the even better news is the captain has more crew members, not only the appreciator. The captain has a curious listener who activates the wanting of asking why and knowing more, and have a self-manager. When you know you are in a dangerous situation where you are in something that you shouldn't be doing, the self-manager helps you to stay in line. And the captain also have someone who deepens the learning and moves the action to make sure you're always getting something out of an action. And the captain also has an intuitive leader who sometimes follows your gut feelings and less to your logic, which is helpful a lot of the times when you need more emotions and feelings in your life. So this is not created by me. I have to acknowledge this is created by the coaching school I went to. It's called the Collective Training Institute. And I find this tool very helpful in coaching others and in self-coaching as well. So I really encourage you to find a time and sit down with yourself and ask yourself, who is my captain? And who is my appreciator? Who is my curious listener? Who can I put in those boxes to remind me that I actually have these attributes and I can activate them whenever I need? Because real changes, transformational changes, happens when you push your limit, when you do something that you weren't courageous enough to do before, because those are when incremental changes happen. And I really want to encourage the transformational change from you, as I wish from all my coaching clients. And just want to share with you the one sentence that's been encouraging me a lot, which is, like the North Star, our life purpose steers us on the course through life that resonates deeply with the truth of who we are, and that requires a lot of support from the captain and less distraction from your saboteur. So if you're only taking away one thing from today, I wish you can learn to identify your saboteur and wake up your captain a little bit more. And remember, you're always allowed to be doing and being at the same time. Thank you.